I'll speak and before you speak and then speak. It's not.
He said self-audit.
And I didn't realize that the TV influence of that night on the news, my husband saw this, he was a pregnant wife, floating across. Looked like the good year. Cameraman, this is season 5.
Yes.
Michael, come to the conference room, please.
They're all working.
Especially when it works in the hall.
It's like juggling plates in a covered dish. The church. You know how to do it.
Not that people are cats, but
It's as frustrating as
Come on in this room down here. Y'all come on down. This end of the room.
Martha.
well, let's go ahead and close the door, I guess, just so we don't have a lot of outside noise. Don't mind.
She's right here.
Oh, there she is.
Well, we've announced it, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you all to the open house for the Little River Healthcare Cameron Hospital. This event has been planned for nearly a year now, or at least in the planning for nearly a year. We wanted to make sure we had all of our horses, our ducks in a row, that's right, ducks in a row. And that included getting all of our Medicare licenses and making sure the building itself was just pristine. And I'm sure that you'll see that as we go through the tour. We are very, very excited to show it off to you. Today we also are very excited to have with us a few speakers. We have the president of CTH Inc., the company that owns the hospital building, Mark Humble, over here furthest to my left. We have State Senator Dr. Charles Schwartner. We also have the Cameron Hospital Administrator, Troy Zinn. He's the Little River Healthcare COO as well. And we have our Director of Quality Assurance and Risk Management, Cassie Havel. Havel. It's Havel. We also have Dr. Peyton Thompson, who is a kind of a staple here in the Cameron community. He is our basically our lead doctor here at the Cameron Hospital, and nurse. I can never
Martha
remember your
Adrian.
last name.
Martha
Adrian. Thank you, Martha. She as well has been here with the Cameron Hospital for quite some time. Real quick, I'll overview the packet that a few of you got, the press packet. It includes a brochure, and inside that brochure is a list of all the insurances that we accept, as well as some of the medical services that we can provide here at the Cameron Hospital. I know that that's a big question a lot of folks have been having is, well, what can you do? So that'll answer those questions. There's also, of course, on the back the list of all the local Temple to Rockdale and Cameron, all the different services that can be offered here locally, because we know folks in Cameron want to drive sometimes, but not too far. We have inside that press packet as well is a list of the locations that Little River Healthcare manages and operates. Several of those locations are throughout Austin, even all the way up to Waco area, as well as in San Antonio. We have a detailed timeline and a few numbers to go by. I know that some of those statistics you may find important. For example, square footage of the hospital, how many employees are here, yada, 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 as well as the detailed timeline. Kind of what this hospital has been through in the past year and a half. As you know, we've been calling, as you can see on the back of everybody's t-shirts, it's a resurrection. And of course, to paint that image, we needed to show how close it was to death. It's a monumentous occasion that we're here for, and we're very excited about it. If you would like any copies of photos, before and after photos, we do have those, and I'd be happy to email them to you. As we go through the tour, you'll see we made poster boards of them, so you'll see kind of what it looked like before. We can also send you video and sound audio of this press conference, as well as a video tour of the hospital. Just please get in touch with me, and I will absolutely send those over to you. Our schedule is also in that press packet, and we'll just go ahead and get started on that. Obviously, the times are quite a bit off, but we'll get started with Mr. Mark Humble.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My involvement in the healthcare industry started about 20 years ago. I was in my law office trying to mind my own business, and Francis Baldwin, who was then the manager at the Chamber of Commerce, came and asked if I would attend a meeting, a community meeting at the Chamber the following morning, because the Sisters of Charity had closed the hospital, and they wanted to have a meeting about it to see what could be done. I went to the Chamber office, the meeting room, and it was more or less standing room only, except there was an empty chair in the front row. And I went and I sat down, and Frances came up to me and said, "You can't sit there." And I said, "I'm sorry, Frances, I didn't realize it was your chair." And she said, "No, that's not it. You can't sit out here. You're in charge of this meeting." And literally what she said, I said, "Frances, I don't know a damn thing about hospitals." And she says, "Neither does anybody else. But let me sit in my chair, and you need to get up there and take charge." And some of you were there, and that's in fact how it happened. We had to have money to try to buy the hospital, and two people who have received far too little credit for that are Janet Crouch and Susan Humble. They raised between $500,000 and $600,000 in community contributions. The money was used to buy the facility. And then one has to ask, well, now you've got hold of it, what do you plan to do with it? Because we didn't have any operating funds. My brother is a public finance lawyer, and he came up with this very unique idea that we would create a municipal bond using the Carey and Richardson building and raise $600,000 by borrowing money against it. And we needed to do a municipal bond because the interest rates would be so low. Well, that required approval of the Attorney General for the bond to be issued. And the way we were going to retire the bond was to increase our sales tax, I think by 0.5%, if I remember, 20 years ago. I'm not certain of that, but I believe it was 0.5%. Well, there was a citywide election scheduled for a Tuesday because the community had to vote to approve the increase in the sales tax. The Thursday before the vote, I got a call from the Attorney General's office, and they said, "We've decided we can't sign off on this thing." And I said, "Oh, expletive." And he said, "Why are you so upset?" And I said, "There's a citywide vote taking place this next Tuesday on this issue." And he said, "Oh, expletive." And he said, "Let's hope it fails." I didn't know what to say. On Wednesday, I called him back, and I said, "Well, it passed by a vote of 9-1. And he said, "Oh, expletive." He said, "It looks like we're going to have to sign off on this thing." And they did sign off on the thing. Most of you, maybe none of you are aware that the structure of that thing was so fishy that the Wall Street Journal even ran an article about that bond issue, criticizing it. But, you know, here we are. Ernst & Young did an audit for us to give us some idea about operations. They gave us a 10% chance of lasting more than a year. We lasted 6 years and finally ran out of our operating monies, and we're going to have to close the doors. And an organization called NetCare out of Tennessee approached us and gave us an incredibly lousy lease. But, you know, what do you do? We had no choice. We signed the lease. NetCare discovered it too could not operate the hospital and turn a profit with it. And so it spun off the hospital through a Delaware corporation that was then purchased by Dr. Mahmood. And Dr. Mahmood, being the owner of the corporation, then operated the hospital for about 13 years. We were not terribly happy with the way it was being operated, but again, we didn't have any money, and the community had to have a hospital, even if it was not one entirely to our liking. We were approached several times, including by Little River, asking if they could take over the hospital. Well, of course, with the lease in effect, we couldn't do that. And in each case, I sent them to Dr. Mahmood to talk to him about trying to buy the corporation from him. Ironically, Little River met with us, and we explained to them what they had to do. They had to go to Mahmood. About a month and a half after that, the administrator of the hospital came into my office and said, just a heads up, Dr. Mahmood is going to close the hospital this week. He said, I don't know exactly which day, but it will not be later than Friday. Well, he's not a lawyer, and he didn't understand that's what's called an anticipatory breach or repudiation of the lease. And when he said those words, the lease had ended, which he didn't know. Got back in touch with Carl Hudson with Little River and said, on Monday, I said, Carl, we've got something very interesting going on right here. We need you guys. Can you get back with us? And they got back with us, met with us, and said, yes, we are interested still in running the hospital. So I went to a law firm in Hearn, and I told them what I want to do is I want you to file a suit and get an injunction in TRO. And I want you to do a somewhat unique thing. I want you to get what's called a master in chancery. And the lawyers asked me, what is that? And I said, well, it was one of the days I wasn't sleeping in law school. It's an extremely unique procedure. It hasn't been used in the state maybe more than 8 or 10 times total. But it's a procedure by which a court can seize control of a complicated or complex business and to order that it be operated. And it's only permitted because the hospital would have vaporized in effect. It would have gone out of business unless something was done to protect the operation. And so Judge Youngblood, thank goodness, appointed the sheriff, David Green, who's a hero in my opinion, to step in as the master in chancery. And we came in the hospital on that Friday, I believe it was, and I saw Dr. Mahmood for the first time. At least I was told that's who he was. He was served, the hospital was seized. David took control of it. Little River actually ran it. A pretty wild story, but we're here. So we've sort of been resurrected twice, and we're delighted to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I don't have the memory of Mark, so I have my notes. First, I want to congratulate the Yeomen and the Tigers for their playoff wins last night. We're just a couple of games away from playing each other again, which will be good. I'd like to start by thanking a few people who spent a lot of time here. When we took this over, it was dark, dingy, had a smell to it that I can't quite place. But we've got that out of here. But Cassie Havel, she's our quality director. She and I worked to come up with the colors. We actually had a bright green color in here that never quite made it to the final palette, but we worked here a lot of hours, a lot of long days. For a year we lived over here in addition to our duties. Mine with Rockdale, hers with all of Little River. And Martha Adrian, our DON, she spent just as many hours here, maybe even a few more, especially after we got going. Dr. Thompson, Ron Van Oetering, Kelly Short, the three of them keep the ER running 24 hours a day, as well as Ron and Kelly work over here at the clinic during the day. The Little River staff, they at both hospitals made this possible. The night we took over, we had about an hour and 15 minutes, less than 2 hours notice that we were going to do it. And they came over, they hired everybody. We had to keep the hospital open. The trustees for trusting us to save the hospital. Our families who allowed us to work these crazy hours that we put in. and the owners of Little River, who never wavered in their commitment to the hospital or to this community. We started out 16 months ago, and we never thought it would take a year to get our Medicare license and get the hospital. We thought, I remember we took over in July. Jeff wanted me to have it open in October originally. Then we said, well, maybe January. But as we started peeling back the layers and we started going into all the rooms, we found more things that needed to be fixed, and we wanted to do it right the first time. So we took the time to do that. We could spend hours telling you how we took one step forward and 2 steps back quite a few times. At one point, this whole building has been rewired. You could turn on a light, and chances were pretty good that a fire would start. The wire was old and brittle. We were completely rewired the facility. And you know, it's always used a lot that it was a team effort, but this really was. The Rockdale staff spent that first weekend here. We had to come in every shift change and hire the people who were coming in on shift to keep the hospital open. We had nurses and clerks and the housekeeping staff. They scraped and painted and cleaned, and as well as the contractors that we had in here. Our people put in most of the ceiling tiles. They did whatever was needed to get it done. Even today, the staff has volunteered to be here. Some of the things we've done to replace, we brought in new. When we got here, we had a 1-slice CT. Now we have an 8-slice CT. We remodeled 10 of the patient rooms where we put in flat screen TVs, kitchen appliances, new floors in most of the area. The new reception desk out here, new nurses station, new conference room. This used to be the billing office for the hospital. We put in new isolation rooms, which you'll see on the tour. I mentioned the wiring, and we put in a new boiler, chiller, and a water heater. At one point, we remodeled this hospital in 40-degree temperature. We had no heat. The patient rooms were heated with space heaters, and the ED was run the same way. But today we offer inpatient and ED services, X-ray, CT, ultrasound, lab, and soon we will open that up to outpatient services in the very near future for X-ray, CT, ultrasound, and lab. So if someone from Cameron goes to their doctor and they tell them they need a lab, they can come over here and get it done. They don't have to drive out of town to get that done or go back to the primary care. And with that, we just we want the community to be proud of their hospital and utilize all the services we offer. As the hospital's used and the people use it, we'll bring more and more services over. On the back of the brochures you can find out there, you can see we have over it's like 17 specialties that Little River offers, and we'll bring those over as they're needed, and as it makes good business sense to bring them here. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Ryan Downton, the Chief Legal Officer and Managing Partner for Little River Healthcare. On behalf of my partners and our CEO, Jeff Madison, I want to thank all of you for coming out today to see your hospital. I can't believe it's been nearly 18 months since Mark and Judge Youngblood called us. And I still vividly remember that Friday afternoon night. I was done work for the week. I was in a bathing suit and a t-shirt, and I was pulling my boat to the lake. And Mark called and said, hey, we need you guys now. Can you be here by 5 o'clock? And this is 3 o'clock. So I pulled my car over to the side of the road. I found a Walmart parking lot, unhitched my boat, and drove out here. Still in shorts and a t-shirt, and that was Sheriff Green, and we came in and got going. It's been a long year and a half. It's been a lot of work. I'd like to really thank Troy and our staff for doing a great job in renovating this place, putting in all the time necessary, and I want to thank the community for being supportive of us. This is your hospital. We want you to know it's here. We want you to come. We want you to use it.